there's a path that only appears at dusk. It runs between two rows of silver birch trees, and in the last light of the evening, the pale bark seems almost to glow from the inside, the way a lamp glows behind thin paper. The ground beneath the path is soft with old leaves, and your footsteps make almost no sound as you walk. Just a faint hush, just the gentle give of earth beneath your feet. You have been traveling for a while now, not a hard or hurried journey, more like the quiet unwinding that happens at the end of a long day, when the body begins to remember that it is allowed to rest. The pack on your shoulder is light. The air around you is cool and clean, carrying the faint scent of pine and turned soil, and something sweeter underneath, something you cannot quite name, but that feels like recognition. Like coming back to a place you have always known. The birch trees move in a slow, easy current of wind. Their small leaves catch the last of the light and release it again, flickering silver and pale gold, and you stop for just a moment to watch them. There is nothing you are late for. No one is waiting on you in any urgent way. The path ahead is clear and quiet, and wherever it leads, you already know it is somewhere warm. You breathe in. The air fills your chest slowly, moving all the way down to the base of your ribs, and when you breathe out, something in your shoulders releases. Just a small thing, but real. The kind of release you did not even know you were holding onto until it let go. You keep walking. The path bends gently to the left, and as it does, the birch trees begin to thin, and through the gaps between them, you can see the first soft bruise of the evening sky, a deep blue fading at the edges to violet, to a rose so pale it is almost white. One star has appeared, low and steady above the tree line, and you notice it the way you might notice a candle left burning in a window. A signal, a welcome, something saying, "Here, come this way, there is warmth ahead." The ground rises a little as the path curves, and at the top of a gentle slope, you see it for the first time. The Birchwood Inn. It is not a large building. 2 stories, with a steep pitched roof and wide eaves, and dark timber framing along the whitewashed walls. The windows are tall and narrow, and every one of them is lit from the inside with a warm amber glow that spills out onto the grass and the stones of the path, and makes the whole front of the building look like something painted from memory, like a place that exists just slightly outside of ordinary time. There is a garden in front, low hedges trimmed into soft shapes, a stone bird bath, a wooden bench pressed against the wall beside the door, climbing roses, bare of blooms this time of year, but still winding thickly up a trellis to the left of the entrance, their stems dark and graceful against the pale wall. And the door itself is painted a deep red, the color of dried rose hips, with an iron handle worn smooth from years of hands passing through. You stand on the path for a moment and look at it. There is smoke rising from the chimney, just a thin, steady thread of it, barely visible against the darkening sky. And it carries with it the smell of a wood fire, of something gently burning, of warmth compressed into the air and offered outward. And in the same breath you catch something else, the faint, sweet richness of something baking. Bread, perhaps, or something even softer. something that belongs entirely to kitchens and late evenings and the particular quiet of places where people are cared for. Your feet find the stone path to the door without any decision. You are simply walking toward it, the way a person walks toward light. The garden is very still. A blackbird sits on top of the hedge to your right, watching you with calm, bright eyes. It does not fly. It simply watches and then looks away, satisfied, back toward the deepening sky. A dog is lying on the step in front of the door, old and large, with a coat the color of dark honey, and it lifts its head as you approach, its tail moving once, slowly, in greeting. It does not get up. It simply acknowledges you with all the unhurried dignity of an animal that has been perfectly comfortable for a very long time. You reach out your hand, and the dog presses its forehead briefly against your palm. Warm, solid, entirely calm. You straighten and reach for the iron handle. The door opens with the smallest sound, a breath of resistance, and then a gentle give, and the warmth from inside flows out to meet you like something alive. It wraps around your face and your hands and the front of your coat, and for just a second, you stand still in the doorway, caught between outside and in, between the cool starlit air and the golden warmth ahead, and you let yourself feel exactly this, the precise moment of arriving somewhere safe. The dog has not moved from the step. The blackbird has disappeared into the darkening garden. The first star is still burning, low and steady above the tree line behind you. And you step inside. The entrance hall of the Birchwood Inn is narrow and warm and smells of beeswax and wood smoke, and something faintly herbal, dried lavender, perhaps, or rosemary, or both, bundled together and hung somewhere out of sight. The floorboards beneath your feet are wide and old, the color of pale honey, worn smooth at the center of each plank by years of footsteps moving through. They do not creak so much as murmur a low, comfortable sound, like the house acknowledging your presence. There's a row of coat hooks along the left wall, made of dark iron, shaped simply, and above them, a long rectangular mirror with a frame of dark wood. Your reflection looks back at you quietly. Your face is relaxed. Your eyes are a little softer than they were this morning. The journey here has already done something to you, something small and good. You slip your coat from your shoulders and hang it on the nearest hook. The weight of it leaves your body, and your shoulders rise very slightly, adjusting to the lightness. You roll them back, just once, slowly, and feel the length of your spine settle. At the end of the entrance hall, a doorway opens into the main room of the inn, and the warmth coming through it is deeper and more complete, rich with the smell of the fire, and of something savory being kept warm somewhere nearby. You move toward it without hurrying, trailing your fingertips along the smooth plaster of the wall, noticing the small framed drawings hung there, botanical illustrations, mostly pressed flowers behind glass, a careful pencil sketch of the birch wood outside, a watercolor of the valley in early summer, each one small and precise and quietly beautiful. You step through into the main room. It is the kind of room that takes a moment to fully receive. Not because it is grand, it is not grand at all, but because it is so completely, so deliberately comfortable that your body needs a second to believe it. A large stone fireplace occupies most of the far wall, and the fire burning in it is generous and well built, throwing out a steady, even heat that reaches all the way to where you are standing near the doorway. The flames are low and orange, and move with that slow, thoughtful quality that fires have when they are past their first fierce burning and have settled into something long and sustaining. In front of the fireplace, there are two deep armchairs, upholstered in a soft fabric of faded green, their arms worn to a slight shininess at the edges. A small round table sits between them, holding a ceramic mug, a few books stacked without any particular order, a sprig of dried heather in a small brown bottle. One of the chairs is empty. The other has a knitted blanket draped over its arm, the color of oatmeal, thick and loose, woven and clearly very old. The room is not empty, but it is quiet. Near the window, a man with white hair is reading by lamplight, his face tilted down toward the page, entirely absorbed. At a table in the corner, a woman is writing in a notebook with a small, unhurried hand. Neither of them looks up as you enter, and there is nothing unwelcoming in this, only the easy private absorption of people who are perfectly at rest. A door behind the small reception desk opens, and the innkeeper appears. She is a woman of perhaps 60, with silver-streaked hair wound loosely at the back of her head and dark eyes that are warm without effort, the way some people's eyes are simply warm, as though warmth is their natural resting state. She is wearing a cream-colored apron over dark clothes, and she is drying her hands on a cloth as she comes through. And when she sees you, she smiles, not a professional smile, not a performance of welcome, but the genuine, uncomplicated smile of someone who was expecting you and is genuinely glad you have arrived. You made it just in time, she says, and her voice is low and easy. The last of the light is nearly gone. She does not ask for your name. She simply moves to the desk, opens a small wooden box, and produces a key on a brass ring, the old-fashioned kind, heavy and satisfying in the hand, and holds it out to you. Room 4, she says. Top of the stairs, end of the corridor. It's the quietest room in the house. Looks out over the valley. You take the key. It is cool and dense in your palm, and you close your fingers around it. Supper is laid out whenever you're ready, she continues, gesturing toward the long sideboard along the side wall, where a row of covered dishes sit beside a stack of white plates and a basket of bread wrapped in a clean cloth. No need to sit down formally. Take what you want. Eat by the fire. Eat upstairs. There's no schedule tonight. No schedule tonight. You let those words move through you like something warm. She turns back to the kitchen, pausing at the door. There's hot water in the room and extra blankets in the chest at the foot of the bed. If you need anything, I'm here. She tilts her head once, still smiling, and then she is gone, and the door swings quietly shut behind her, and you are left standing in the warm amber room with a key in your hand, and the fire crackling softly across the way, and the smell of bread still moving through the air. You let out a breath. You did not realize, until this precise moment, how much of the day you had still been carrying. It has been moving with you all the way along the birch path and through the garden and into this room. A low, invisible weight, not dramatic, not painful, just persistent. The accumulated residue of all the small things, the decisions and the noise, and the effort of being present in a world that moves quickly and demands a great deal. But something about this room, the fire, the quiet people, the key in your hand, the innkeeper's unhurried voice, has begun to dissolve it. Not all at once. Gently, the way snow melts at the edges first, slowly giving back to water. You move toward the sideboard and lift the cloth from the bread. The bread is still faintly warm. You lift a thick slice from the basket and set it on one of the white plates, then lift the lids of the covered dishes. A soft potato soup the color of cream, a dish of roasted root vegetables glistening with herbs, a small pot of something dark and sweet that smells of apple and cinnamon. You serve yourself slowly, without hurry, filling the plate without thinking too carefully, trusting your hands to know what they want. You carry your plate and a small bowl of the soup to the chair nearest the fire, the one without the blanket, since that one is clearly already someone's, and you settle into it. The cushion receives you completely. The back of the chair is high enough that your head can rest against it, and when you lean back, the firelight is warm on your face, and the smell of the soup rises in a soft curl toward you. And for a moment, you simply sit, holding the bowl in both hands, feeling the heat of it move through your palms. The man by the window turns a page. The woman in the corner writes one more line, then pauses, tapping her pen very lightly against her notebook in a slow, meditative rhythm. The fire makes its low remarks to itself. Outside, the wind moves through the birch trees with a sound like breathing, like the whole garden exhaling into the dark. You eat slowly. There is no particular thought accompanying the eating. The soup is rich and smooth, and tastes of thyme and good butter, and the bread holds together well, and the roasted vegetables are soft and sweet in the way that only long, low cooking can make things. Each bite is complete in itself. There is no urgency to finish, no awareness of time, no parallel processing of the other things that need doing. Just the warmth of the bowl, the taste of the food, the fire. By the time you set the empty bowl on the small table beside you, something in your body has shifted. Deeper settledness, the kind that comes after nourishment, not just of food, but of atmosphere, of being in a place that is genuinely, unhurriedly quiet. You sit for a while longer, watching the fire. The flames have dropped further since you came in, burning now in long, low tongues of orange and amber, the logs beneath them gone to bright, glowing coal at their edges. It is the kind of fire you could watch indefinitely, not for anything particular in it, but for the quality of attention it invites. Soft, unfocused, the eyes simply resting on the light without any effort to see. Gradually, you become aware that the man by the window has closed his book. He sets it on the windowsill, stretches his arms above his head with a long, slow breath, and then folds them across his chest and gazes out through the glass into the dark garden. His profile is peaceful. There is nothing in his expression but a kind of settled contentment, the face of someone who has finished something and is simply resting in the finished feeling. The woman in the corner caps her pen and closes her notebook. She holds it for a moment with both hands in her lap, looking down at the cover, and then she sets it gently on the table and folds her hands together and closes her eyes. Just for a moment. Just the small reset of a person allowing themselves to stop. The room around you is breathing quietly. You reach for the key in your pocket, turning it over between your fingers. The brass is warming now from your body heat, and it is smooth and solid in a way that feels grounding. Something real and simple and entirely yours for the night. Room 4. Top of the stairs, end of the corridor. The quietest room in the house. You stand slowly and take your plate to the sideboard, stacking it neatly with the others. Then you turn toward the staircase. It rises from the far end of the room. A narrow, curving stair with a wooden banister rubbed to a soft gleam. The treads covered in the center by a runner of deep red wool, worn at the edges, deeply familiar in the way that old household textiles become familiar. You place your hand on the banister and begin to climb. The staircase curves gently to the right, and as you rise above the level of the main room, the sounds of it, the fire, the quiet drop away beneath you, replaced by the particular silence of an upper floor. Deeper, more complete. The kind of silence that belongs to sleeping hours, that has weight and texture, that is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of rest. At the top of the staircase, the corridor opens out in both directions, but you turn right, as the innkeeper indicated, toward the end of the hall. The floorboards here are the same pale honey wood as below, and there is a small window at the end of the corridor, uncurtained, and through it you can see the night sky clearly. A deep, true black now, scattered thickly with stars. The valley below has disappeared into darkness and low mist, and the tree line is a soft, indistinct edge against the sky, and the whole view has the quality of a painting in which the artist has used restraint, very little rendered simply, but the simplicity carrying everything. You walk slowly down the corridor. There are 3 doors before you reach the 4th, each with a small brass number. You pass 1, 2, 3, noticing the quiet that lies behind each of them, the sense of other people at rest, the gentle compound stillness of a house full of sleeping. And then you reach the end of the corridor and the door marked 4, and you lift the key and fit it into the lock. The lock turns with a clean, soft click. You push the door open and step inside, and the room that receives you is everything the innkeeper promised and something more, something that cannot quite be named, but that you feel at once in the chest, a kind of recognition, a coming home to a place you have not been before, but that fits around you exactly, precisely, as though it were made with you in mind. The room is not large, but it holds everything it needs to, and nothing it does not. The walls are painted a color that is difficult to name, somewhere between white and the palest gray-green, the color of lichen on old stone, the color of still water at dawn. In the warm amber light from the lamp on the bedside table. The walls seem almost to breathe, to shift very slightly between tones, and the effect is deeply, specifically calming, like being inside the inside of a quiet breath. The bed is against the far wall, centered beneath a sloped ceiling that follows the pitch of the roof, and it is everything a bed should be at the end of a long day. Wide and high, and covered with a white duvet so deep and full that it looks like something carved from cloud. The pillows are 4 in number and arranged in a gentle slope, and they are the particular soft white of pillows that have been washed many times and dried in clean air, and pressed with something faintly fragrant, not perfumed, just clean, just good. At the foot of the bed is a low wooden chest, dark and solid, and on top of it, a folded extra blanket in the same oatmeal-colored wool as the one downstairs, thick and loosely woven, and clearly meant to be used, not displayed. To the left of the bed, the window the innkeeper mentioned. You go to it first. It is a tall, narrow window with a deep sill, and the curtains on either side are heavy linen in a color that matches the walls, pale and quiet. They are not drawn, and through the glass the night is fully present. The valley below is invisible now beneath its blanket of mist. You know it is there, but you cannot see it, and there is something peaceful in that. The world below gathered into itself, tucked away, allowed to be unseen for the night. Above the mist, the tree line rises in soft, dark shapes, and above that the sky goes on, impossibly full of stars. You press your fingertips against the cool glass and look out. The stars are not the stars of town or city, where the light above dulls them to only the brightest and most determined. These are the full stars, the layered ones, the ones that go back in depth and density, until the whole sky is more light than dark, until what looked from a distance like blackness reveals itself up close to be an infinite arrangement of luminous points, each one burning steadily at its own distance, its own particular cold fire. You find yourself breathing slowly, matching the stillness outside. There's a planet low in the west, a star that does not flicker, that holds its light without wavering, and you fix your gaze on it for a moment. Something in its steadiness enters you. Steadiness received through the eyes and moved down through the chest into the body's core, settling there like a stone settling through clear water, coming to rest at the bottom without disturbance. The room behind you holds its warmth. You turn from the window and take in the rest of it. There is a small wooden chair in the corner with your bag resting against its leg. You do not remember placing it there, but it is there, and everything feels accounted for. There is a narrow shelf above the chair holding a few books, their spines plain, their titles quiet things, a collection of nature essays, a slim volume of poetry, a book about the night sky. There's a small white jug on the dresser with a single stem of dried lavender in it, the purple of the flower faded to a soft gray, the scent still faintly present in the air. There's a low lamp on the bedside table, its shade of amber glass throwing a warm and limited light, intimate in the way that small lamps in quiet rooms always are. And there is the window, and the stars, and the mist in the valley below, and the sound of the wind in the trees outside, barely audible through the glass. But there, a presence, a low, continuous sound like the earth breathing in its sleep. You go to the wooden chest and lift the extra blanket, holding it for a moment. The wool is thick and slightly rough and smells of cedar and clean air. You fold it back over the chest for now, leaving it within reach for later. Then you sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress receives you slowly, perfectly, not too soft, not too firm, but exactly the particular yielding resistance that allows a body to relax completely, to feel held rather than compressed. You press your palms flat against the duvet and feel the smooth, cool weight of it under your hands. And then you lift them and press them again. And then you simply leave them there and sit for a moment in the quiet. The lamp makes no sound. The wind in the trees is very soft. Somewhere below, not close, perhaps from the kitchen, there is the brief, gentle sound of something being set down, a cup or a pot. And then that too falls away, and there is nothing but the room's own silence and the breathing of the trees outside. You look at the window from where you sit on the bed, and the stars look back, steady and uncountable and entirely unhurried. There is nowhere you need to be tomorrow that cannot wait. There is nothing that requires your attention tonight that cannot be laid down, gently and completely, the way you lay a coat over a chair, not discarded, not lost, just set aside for the hours of rest. Tomorrow it will still be there. Tomorrow you will know what to do. But tonight the room is warm and the stars are steady and the bed is ready. And the only thing left to do is the simplest and most necessary thing there is: to let go, to rest. You reach for the hem of the duvet and pull it back, and the inside is cool and clean. And you move toward the pillows, and the room holds you with perfect, unhurried care. You are lying down now. The pillow beneath your head is soft and deep and cool on one side, and you turn your face into it and breathe in its clean, simple scent, cotton and fresh air, and the faintest memory of lavender. The duvet settles over you with a gentle weight, not heavy, but present, the way a hand rests on a shoulder in comfort. You feel the boundary of your body meet the warmth of the bed, and along that boundary, slowly, the muscles begin to release. It starts at the shoulders, a softening that happens without being asked, as though the body has been waiting all day for permission, and the permission has finally arrived in the form of this pillow, this room, this quiet. And now it is simply doing what it has been longing to do. The muscles of the upper back let go. The neck lengthens very slightly against the pillow. The jaw unclenches. You did not know it was clenched until it is not. And the space between your teeth increases by the smallest amount, and your tongue falls away from the roof of your mouth, and your lips part just barely, and your face goes soft and still. Outside, the wind moves through the birch trees. You can hear it through the glass, very faint, almost more felt than heard, a low, silvery sound like the distant turning of pages. It comes in pulses, each one slightly different in length and depth, and listening to it is like watching water move over river stones, endlessly varied within a single continuous quality, never exactly the same, never exactly different, always soothing, always present. Your hands lie open at your sides. You notice this, the openness of the hands, and there is something restful in it. Closed hands hold things. Open hands release them. You think of everything your hands have held today. All the ordinary tasks, the small efforts, the persistent managing of everything that needed managing. And you let all of it move away from the open palms and out into the quiet air of the room, where it disperses like smoke, like breath, like nothing at all. The lamp on the bedside table is still on, and through your closed eyelids, its amber light registers as a warm, gentle presence, not intrusive, not bright, just warmly there. In a little while you will reach for it and turn it off, but not yet. For now it is company. A warm, small thing burning in the dark for no reason but its own warmth, and that is enough. You breathe in slowly. Your chest rises, and with it the duvet rises, and then it settles back down as you breathe out, and the settling has a finality to it, each breath out taking something with it, releasing some small weight, some small tension, some small piece of the day that no longer needs carrying. In and out, in and out. The room is very still. Outside the window, the mist in the valley below has thickened and risen, and the lower stars near the horizon have blurred into it, their lights scattered and diffused, the hard, bright points becoming soft, glowing halos in the fog. But the high stars remain clear, the deep field stars, the ones that belong to the true night, and they burn steadily above the mist, above the trees, above the inn, above you in your warm room, burning the way they have always burned, indifferent to the small human dramas below and beautiful for that indifference, beautiful in the same way that mountains are beautiful, the same way that the ocean is beautiful, because they are themselves entirely, without apology, without effort, without end. You think of the innkeeper's face, the way she smiled without performing it. You think of the dog on the step, its warm forehead against your palm. You think of the fire in the main room, the way it had settled into its long burning. Each memory is small and ordinary and deeply comforting, and you move between them slowly, not thinking, just touching them lightly, the way fingers move over smooth stones on a riverbank. Each one cool and solid and pleasant, each one requiring nothing. The birch trees outside whisper. A floorboard somewhere in the inn shifts with a low, comfortable sound, the house settling into itself, adjusting its weight for the night. It is a familiar sound to all old buildings, this slow accommodation, and it feels like the inn breathing, like the walls themselves relaxing around the sleeping people inside them, the whole structure gentling into rest along with its guests. Your body is heavy in the most comfortable way, not the heaviness of fatigue or illness, but the proper heaviness of a body that has arrived at rest, that has been given warmth and quiet, and is responding to both with exactly the response they call for. Your legs feel long and still. Your hips have pressed gently into the mattress. Your arms are completely without effort. And from this specific physical stillness, something deeper begins to follow the mind, slower to release than the body, taking its cues from the calm of what surrounds it, beginning to soften at the edges, to lose its grip on the specific, to let the clear, sharp outlines of thought blur a little into something less defined, less urgent, less necessary. You are here. You are warm. The night is long and the room is safe, and the stars are burning at their proper distances above the mist. And there is nothing, not a single thing, required of you between now and morning. The lamp glows. The trees breathe. The inn holds you quietly and completely in the deep heart of its warmth. Lamp goes out very gently, the way the last light of evening goes, not suddenly, but by degrees, the amber warmth dimming, and then releasing into the dark, leaving behind a different quality of darkness entirely. Not empty darkness, but full darkness, restful darkness, the kind of dark that rooms fill with when the last light is out, and the eyes have a moment to adjust and discover that dark is not the absence of anything, but a presence of its own. The room finds its new shape in this darkness. The window is the lightest thing in it, a pale gray rectangle of star-washed sky. The curtains on either side soft silhouettes, the deep sill a faint shelf of stone. The stars through the glass are the same stars, still burning, and now without the lamplight in the room, they seem closer, more intimate, as though the darkness between you and them has thinned, and you can see all the way out to their light more clearly than before. You look at them for a long moment without thinking anything in particular. Stars are very old light. The thought arrives without effort, without weight. The light entering your eyes right now left its source so long ago that the journey here has taken longer than anything human can properly comprehend. You are receiving light from across a distance, so vast it has no scale in ordinary life, no equivalent to stand beside it and say, "This is how far." And yet here it is, arriving at your window, patient and unchanged. Something sent across that immensity and still, after all of it, still soft enough that looking at it simply feels like rest. Your breathing has settled into its nighttime rhythm, slower than waking breath, deeper, the kind of breathing the body finds on its own when it is truly relaxed, when the mind has stopped directing it, and it is simply moving as it was designed to move, at its own pace, rising and falling and rising again, without any thought or effort on your part. You have stopped managing it. It does not need managing. It knows what to do. The wind in the birch trees is very soft now. It has quieted since earlier. The breeze that was moving through the garden when you arrived has settled to something barely perceptible, a kind of atmospheric murmur, the air moving just enough to keep the leaves in conversation. A quiet conversation, the soft kind that people have late at night, when no one needs to be convinced of anything, when words are just sound and sound is just comfort. Close your eyes. The darkness behind them is slightly warmer than the darkness of the room, tinged with the red-brown of blood and tissue and the deep interior of the body. And in that warm internal dark, there is nothing to see and nothing you need to see. And the relief of this is very quiet and very real. The eyes have been working all day, focusing and adjusting and processing and responding. And now they are simply resting, closed, still, the lids lying gentle against them like a hand covering a lantern. Beneath the duvet, your body is warmth and weight. You have stopped feeling the separate parts of yourself. You are no longer aware of hands or feet or the precise line where the mattress meets your back. You are aware only of a general, overall quality of warmth and stillness, a unified sense of being in your body as a warm and resting thing, complete in itself, needing nothing further. The mist in the valley below has thickened. You cannot see it from where you lie, but if you were standing at the window, you would see it has risen to fill the lower reaches of the hillside, pooling between the trees, moving very slowly in long, pale currents over the fields below. The inn sits above it on its gentle rise, dry and warm and lit from within, a point of amber in the pale gray fog, the smoke from its chimney rising in a thin straight line into the still cold air above. But you are not standing at the window. You are here in the bed, under the duvet in the dark, and the mist and the valley and the smoke are simply part of the outside world that is doing its slow, unhurried work tonight without any need of your attention. A small sound comes from somewhere, a single sound, brief and clear. An owl, perhaps, calling from the edge of the birch wood. A long, low note that carries through the night air with perfect stillness, arrives at the closed window of your room, passes through the glass as a vibration barely felt, and then is gone. Gone into the dark, gone into the listening. You receive the sound and release it. In the way of the body at this hour, the body deep in rest, deep in the easy geography of a warm bed and a quiet room. The sound arrives not as something to respond to, but as something to absorb and let pass, the way the earth absorbs rain without effort, without decision, simply by being what it is and receiving what comes. Somewhere in the inn, a door closes very softly. The innkeeper, perhaps, moving through the house on her last rounds of the evening, checking the fire, setting things right, making sure the building is settled for the night. You hear her footsteps below you, quiet and unhurried, and then the low sound of a latch, and then nothing. The inn folds into its deepest quiet. The night is fully itself now. All the preparations are complete. All the small ceremonies of evening have been observed. And what remains is the long, uninterrupted hours of darkness in which nothing is required of anyone, in which the body is free to do its most important and most overlooked work, to rest, to repair, to restore, to gather itself back together from everything the day has scattered it into, and to be, for a few dark and quiet hours, simply still. Your breath moves in. Your breath moves out. The stars are in their places. The mist holds the valley in its soft embrace. The inn stands warm and solid on its hill, and inside it, you are resting. There is a place between waking and sleeping that most people pass through quickly, like a corridor between two rooms, barely noticing the corridor itself, only the room they came from and the room ahead. But on certain nights, in certain places, with the right quality of quiet and warmth around them, some people slow in that corridor. They linger. They notice the feeling of being suspended between the two, not fully in either one, held in the soft threshold where the body is still, and the mind is no longer insisting on anything. You are in that place now, not asleep, not awake, somewhere in the warm middle, where time moves differently, where a minute can feel like much more than a minute, where a thought that arises is less sharp than a waking thought and dissolves more easily, like salt in warm water, like sugar in tea. The thoughts come and they go, and you do not follow any of them very far, because the going far requires an effort that you are no longer interested in making. It is easier to let them surface and pass. They are like small clouds moving across a sky that is perfectly blue behind them. The sky doesn't change, the blue doesn't change, and the clouds are just visiting. The room is dark and still. The window holds its gray-blue light, the stars not as vivid to your closed eyes, but their presence felt nonetheless. The way a candle is felt even through a closed door, the warmth and light of it suggesting itself from behind the wood and the dark. Your body has sunk a little further into the mattress. This happens in deep rest, a progressive release, almost imperceptible, but real. The connective tissue of the body yielding degree by degree to the surface beneath it, the spaces between muscle and bone opening slightly, the weight of the whole distributed more fully, more evenly, until the body is not so much resting on the bed as becoming part of it, becoming part of the quiet, horizontal world of sleep. The duvet over you is very light. It is warmed completely now, holding the specific warmth of your body, the air inside it still and perfect, a small enclosed climate of pure comfort. Beyond the duvet, the room is cool. You can feel this faintly at the tip of your nose, at your forehead, the small amount of face that lies in the open air of the room. But this coolness is welcome. It is the right coolness for sleep. The contrast between the cool air above and the warm bed below that the body knows and needs, that signals to the deep mind. This is right. This is the proper arrangement. This is a night for rest. The birch trees are quiet. The wind has entirely stilled, and in the stillness, the trees are simply standing. Silver in the dark, their narrow trunks patient and still, their small dry leaves motionless. The whole wood has gone into its own kind of sleep, the particular suspended state of trees in the deep night, not awake and not truly asleep, but simply present, simply themselves, without the movement and activity that belongs to daylight hours. You breathe. In the corridor between waking and sleeping, the breath is very slow, slower than you might consciously choose. The ribs barely lift. The exhale is long and complete. And in the pause between exhale and the next inhale, that small pause, that cessation, there is something like peace. Not the peace of resolved things, not the peace of answered questions, but the peace that exists simply in stillness itself, in the moment when the breath has fully left and the next has not yet come, when the body is between one thing and another, and the mind, for just that moment, is too. Your hands are open. They have been open since much earlier, since you first lay down, and they remain open now, soft, uncurled, lying at ease on the surface of the duvet. All the things they released earlier have not come back. The room is too quiet, the night too deep, the body too committed to its rest, for any of it to return. The hands know this. The hands have let go so fully that the letting go is no longer even a thing being done. It has simply become the state of the hands. Open, easy, free. Somewhere beneath the mist, the river that runs through the valley is moving. You cannot hear it from here. It is too far, the valley too deep, the night too thick between you and it. But it is moving nonetheless, as it always has, as it will long after this particular night is over, running its slow, clear way between the willows and the alder trees, over its stones, through its bends, with the particular patience of water that knows it has all the time there is. The river is not going anywhere that urgency could reach. It is simply going where it goes, at the pace it has always gone, and the mist lies above it in great pale banks, and the stars that it cannot quite reach down to see are reflected in its surface in long, trembling lines of silver light. In the inn, the fire in the downstairs room has burned very low. The logs have given up almost everything they had, and what remains is a bed of deep red coals barely covered in white ash, still warm, still throwing their gentle heat into the room, but quietly now, without any drama of flame. The 2 armchairs by the fire are empty. The books are stacked. The woman's notebook is on the table. The man's book is on the windowsill. And the fire, in its last quiet burning, is simply glowing. A dark, rich glow. A last warmth given freely to the sleeping house before the coals go fully gray with morning. You feel this warmth from here, though you do not know it consciously. You feel the whole warmth of the inn, the walls around you, the roof above you, the floors below you, the stones of the fireplace holding their heat through the night. And all of it combines into a single, encompassing sense of being held, of being inside something solid and warm and safe, while the night does its wide, dark, necessary work outside. The corridor between waking and sleeping is growing shorter now. The room at the other end, the deeper one, the quiet one, the one without thoughts or time or effort, is very close. You feel its threshold. You are nearly there. Sleep comes the way the tide comes. Not all at once. Not with any single moment you could point to and say, there, that was the moment. Instead, it comes in a series of advances, each one reaching a little further up the shore of consciousness, drawing back a little, then reaching further still, until the place where waking ends and sleep begins has no clear line, only a gradual, inevitable deepening, the water rising around you so gently that you do not notice the moment you are no longer standing on dry ground. The mind lets go of the room first. The window, still there, with its dim gray stars, releases from your awareness. The walls fall away. The ceiling goes. The sound of the wind in the birch trees, so present earlier, so companionable, has dissolved into a texture of silence rather than a distinct sound, indistinguishable now from the breathing of the inn, from the movement of your own blood, from the low, continuous hum that the world makes when it is doing nothing in particular. What remains is warmth, just warmth and dark, and the slow tide of breathing moving in and out, the chest rising very slightly and falling very slightly in a rhythm so long established now that it has become like the rhythm of the trees in the birch wood, present, continuous, belonging entirely to itself. Images come as they come at this depth of rest, not the sharp, directed images of waking thought, not memories to be examined or plans to be made, but softer things, pieces of the day dissolved and rearranged by the dreaming mind into something more symbolic, more fluid. A long field in early morning, the grass very tall and very still, and a pale green in low light. A door open onto a garden where birds are moving in the trees beyond a hedge. The face of someone you love turned slightly away, the light behind them, everything quiet. A road you recognize but cannot name, running between old stone walls, curving out of sight around a gentle bend. Each image arrives gently and departs gently, without insistence. You are not directing them. You are simply present as they pass, a watcher on the bank of a slow river, receiving what the current brings. The birch wood outside is asleep. The valley below is asleep. The mist lies over everything like a long, soft breath held. The inn is asleep, the innkeeper in her room at the end of the hall, her breathing slow and regular, the lines of her face smoothed out in the dark, the warmth of her kitchen still present in the rooms below. The man with the white hair is asleep, his book on the windowsill beside him, his chest rising, and falling beneath his blanket with the deep, uncomplicated rhythm of someone with a clear conscience and a warm room. The woman with the notebook is asleep, her hands relaxed on the pillow. The ideas she was working at in the evening gathered now into the deeper processing of sleep, to be returned to her in the morning, perhaps changed and enriched by what the night has done with them. The whole building breathes together. You are part of this breathing now, not separate from the inn and its sleeping guests and the warm kitchen below, and the birch trees outside and the mist in the valley, not a visitor to these things, but continuous with them, part of the same quiet system of rest and warmth and dark that contains everything tonight. The boundary between you and the room has softened. The boundary between the room and the inn has softened. The boundary between the inn and the night outside has softened. Everything is part of a single, sleeping whole. Your body is very still. It has found its deepest position, the one it will hold through the night, your weight distributed perfectly over the warm mattress, your breathing slow and low, your hands open, your face soft and undone. All the small tensions of the day have been absorbed and released, and what remains is the simple physical fact of a body at rest. A warm, alive, completely still body in a dark room in an inn on a hillside, while the stars turn very slowly overhead. Deeper now, the images in the mind have simplified further. A color, the same pale gray-green as the walls of the room, but moving like water, like light through water. A sound, a very low note, barely a note at all, more a vibration. A frequency the body feels rather than the ears hear. A warmth that is no longer in a specific place, but everywhere, all the way through, as though the warmth of the bed has moved through the skin and into the muscles, and through the muscles to the bones, and even the bones are warm. This is the deep country of sleep. You have arrived here without knowing exactly when the journey ended, the way you arrive home after a familiar drive and find you do not remember the last several turns, only that you are here in the driveway, the engine quiet, and everything is as it should be. You are here. Everything is as it should be. The tide is fully in. In the deepest hours of the night, time does not move in the way it moves during the day. During the day, time is a sequence, one thing after another, each moment pressing on the next, the whole rush of it carrying you forward, whether you are ready or not. But in the deep middle of the night, in the space between the last waking and the first light, time becomes something else. It spreads. It deepens rather than advancing. It fills with a quality of stillness that has no equivalent in the waking hours. A stillness so complete that it is almost like substance. Like the stillness itself has weight and density, like you could hold it in your hands. You are deep inside that stillness now. The room is entirely dark. The stars have shifted in their slow arc and moved away from the window, and the gray-blue light that was there earlier has reduced to almost nothing. The sky outside settling into the deepest shade of the night, the truest black that only exists for a few hours in the center of these long, quiet hours between midnight and the approach of dawn. Your breathing is so slow it would be almost imperceptible to someone watching. Long, deep, unconscious breaths, each one moving the body very slightly, very gently, the faintest rise and fall beneath the duvet, like the surface of water in a sheltered bay, barely moving, reflecting nothing, simply there. The breath has been doing this for hours without any thought at all. The body knows exactly what it needs, and it is taking it steadily, without drama, in the dark. Below the inn, the river in the valley moves through the mist. It has been moving all night, as it moves every night, as it has always moved. Over the smooth, pale stones, through the long bends, past the willows whose bare branches drag at the water in high flow and trail at the surface in low, their reflections broken and reformed and broken again by the current's pull. The river has no intention. It has no destination beyond the natural one. It moves because moving is what rivers do, because the ground slopes and the water follows the slope, because gravity is patient and absolute, and the river has been trusting it for longer than anyone can say. The mist over the valley is at its thickest now. From above, from the place where the stars are, the valley would be entirely invisible, hidden under its white blanket, a long bowl of fog lying between two dark hillsides, silent and still. The inn would be just visible above the mist line, its windows dark now, its chimney cold, the whole building a quiet shape on the hillside with the birch trees behind it, and the open fields below it, and the sky above it turning very, very slowly in its ancient, indifferent arc. Inside the inn, everyone sleeps. The innkeeper, in her room with the small window that looks out over the back garden, where the herb beds are laid out in neat rows under the stars. She sleeps on her side, one hand under her cheek, her breathing even and long. She has been keeping this in for many years, and her sleep is the deep, comfortable sleep of someone at home in their life, at home in their work, at home in their body. The man with the white hair lies on his back with his hands folded across his chest like a figure on a monument, but nothing like a monument in feeling. Entirely relaxed, entirely at peace, his face smooth and open, his mind moving through some dream that has the quality of long summer afternoons, of slow walks through familiar places, of something warm and golden that cannot be named, but that leaves a trace of itself on waking, a residue of well-being that colors the whole day that follows. The woman who was writing has rolled to face the wall, her dark hair spread over the pillow, her notebook on the table exactly where she left it. In her sleep, she is working still, in the way that sleeping minds work, not consciously, not with effort, but with the deep processing intelligence of a mind that has been given a problem and has taken it down into the dark waters of sleep to solve it in its own way, by its own methods, which are largely mysterious and entirely reliable. And you are in the deepest rest of the night, in the warmest part of the bed, in the room that looks out over the valley and the mist and the stars. And the night is doing what the night does. It is restoring you. It is doing the work that only the night can do, the slow repair of everything that accumulated and strained through the day, the knitting together of the small tears, the replenishment of what was spent, the clearing of residue, the deep systemic renewal that the body performs with such efficiency and such constancy that it is easy to forget it is happening at all, to take it entirely for granted, this nightly rebuilding of the self. But it is happening. Right now, in the warm dark of this room, it is happening. The cells doing what cells do. The nervous system finding its lowest gear. The brain moving through its cycles of deep sleep and quiet sleep, each cycle doing its own specific work, each necessary, each a gift given freely by the body to itself in the hours of dark and rest. You will not remember this deepest part of the night, not because nothing is happening. Everything is happening. The most important things are happening, but because the self that would remember is itself resting, its powers of attention and recording laid down for the night. And so these hours are written in a language that does not translate into waking memory. They are written in the body itself, in the feeling of waking well, in the steadiness of a mind returned to itself, in the ease of a body that has been cared for through the night by its own deep intelligence. The stars have continued their turning. The mist in the valley is beginning, very slowly, to thin at its upper edges. Too slight a change to mean anything yet, too early for any hint of light, but the deep mechanism of the night working on its own quiet schedule, moving everything forward at its own pace toward the turning that will eventually come. But not yet, for now there is only the dark, and the warmth, and the stillness, and the river moving in the valley below, and the stars above, and you sleeping in the room at the end of the corridor, completely and perfectly at rest. The world changes very gradually at its edges before the center knows anything has shifted. Long before any light arrives, something moves in the quality of the dark. A faint, barely perceptible loosening, as though the blackness of the deepest night has been very slightly diluted, given the tiniest addition of something that is not yet gray, but is no longer the absolute black of 3 in the morning. It is not a color. It is not even quite a change. It is more like the suggestion of a change, a distant announcement of an intention, the night's way of saying, without any urgency, that somewhere very far to the east the first processes have begun. But this is long away from you. You are still deep in rest, in the warm center of the night, the duvet heavy with your body's heat, your breathing long and slow and undisturbed. The light, when it does eventually come, will not hurry you. It will arrive with the same unhurried patience with which everything at the Birchwood Inn moves, gently, without insistence, allowing you to wake in your own time, to rise toward consciousness at the pace your body chooses. For now, the inn sleeps. And in this last long portion of the night, something very quiet and very important is happening. It happens in the place where sleep and something like dreaming meet. That gentle country between the depths of the night and the first far-off preparations of morning, where the mind, having completed its deepest work, begins to surface a little. Not toward waking, not urgently toward anything, but beginning a slow, gradual ascent toward the lighter layers of rest, moving through them with the ease of a swimmer rising through very calm water, feeling the pressure change, feeling the light above beginning to diffuse down through the water above them, rising slowly, unhurried, toward the surface. You are held in this ascent. It is comfortable here, in these lighter layers, where the body is still completely at rest, but the mind has begun to do something softer than the deep processing of the earlier hours, something closer to dreaming in the way we usually understand dreaming. Images forming with more coherence, more color, more of the emotional quality of experience. Not sharp or anxious or strange, simply gentle. A story told in images, moving slowly, like a film watched from a great distance, all the harsh edges softened by the remove. You are in a field. The grass is long, and the color is the green of early summer. That first, abundant green before the year has had time to bleach it, when everything is growing with the fullness of new intention. You are walking through it slowly, and the grass brushes against your hands as you move, and the sky above is vast and blue, and carries 2 or 3 clouds that are simply clouds, soft, unhurried, drifting with the slowness of things that have all the time there is. At the edge of the field, there is a river. It runs between low banks where the grass comes right to the edge and bends over the water, the same river that has been in the valley below all night, but seen now in daylight, in summer, in the particular green and golden light of a morning that belongs entirely to rest and ease and the feeling of a day with nowhere particular to be. You sit down on the bank. The water moves past you with a low, clear sound, a conversation of water over stones, entirely unhurried, entirely musical. The light on its surface breaks and reforms and breaks again. Small mirrors of sun scattered across the current, each one lasting less than a second, and each one followed immediately by another. An endless succession of small bright things given and released and given again. You trail your fingers in the water. It is cool and clear, and the sensation of it is perfect. The gentle resistance of moving water, the coolness against the skin, the way the current takes your fingers lightly and moves around them, unimpeded, flowing on. On the bank across the water, a heron stands in the shallows. It is a gray heron, tall and very still, its long neck folded into its body, its yellow eyes half closed. It is not hunting. It is not doing anything at all. It is simply standing in the water, in the light, entirely itself, with the deep, unhurried dignity of a creature that has never needed to be anything other than what it is. You watch it for a while. The heron does not look at you. The river moves between you both, and the light moves on the water, and the clouds move above, and everything is moving, and everything is still, both at once, in the way that only the dreaming mind can hold as true, the way that only in these softer hours of morning can both things be fully, gently real. This is the gift of the night, not just the rest of it, though the rest is everything. The rest is necessary. The rest is what the body needed and has taken and will carry back into the day as steadiness and ease. But also this, the quality of being returned to yourself, the way the night, in its long, unhurried work, has gathered up everything the day scattered you into and has brought it back together quietly, without effort on your part, so that the person who surfaces from sleep is not the person who lay down exhausted and scattered and full of the residue of everything that needed managing, but a person remade, not different, more yourself, the edges clearer, the center quieter, the weight of unnecessary things gone, shed overnight like the bark of the silver birch trees shed each autumn, slowly, naturally, without loss, leaving behind something cleaner and more essential, and already beginning to prepare for whatever comes next. The heron lifts its head. For a moment, it is completely still, its long neck extended, its yellow eyes wide and clear, looking at something you cannot see, some quality of the air, some shift in the light, something that heron senses detect that lie entirely beyond human knowing. And then, in a single unhurried movement, it opens its enormous wings and lifts from the water, up through the shining air, up over the field, up toward the pale blue distance where the field meets the horizon, and the horizon meets the sky, and everything opens into everything else. You watch it until it is gone, and then you turn your face toward the light. The field is warm. The river is moving. Somewhere behind you, up on the hill with its birch trees, and its deep red door, and its amber windows, the Birchwood Inn is waiting, warm and patient, and entirely without urgency. Your room is there. The bed is there, still holding the shape of your rest, the duvet folded back where you rose from it, the pillow bearing the impression of your head. The window is there, looking out over the valley in its morning mist, the mist lifting now at the edges where the sun first reaches, the valley beginning to reveal itself, the river glinting below, the world returning to itself after the long, deep gift of the night. But you are in no hurry. The morning can wait. The day, when it comes, will come gently. For now there is only this: the river, and the light, and the long green field, and the immense, specific, completely ordinary peace of a person who has rested fully, completely, without interruption, who has been held through the night by warmth and quiet, and the deep goodness of a world that does not stop caring for you just because you close your eyes. Your breath is slow and even and full. Your hands are open. You are here. You are rested. You are well. The morning comes slowly through the mist, and the birch trees stand in their silver rows along the path, and the inn is warm and steady on its hill. And somewhere in the valley below, the river is moving, just as it always has, just as it always will, over its smooth, pale stones, through its long and gentle bends, toward wherever water goes when it has all the time in the world. And so do you. So do you.